Discover the incredible journey of Moses, miraculous faith and divine transformation revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the Israelites languished under the heavy hand of oppression in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh's rule was ruthless, and with each passing day, the cries of the Hebrew people rose like incense before the heavens, seeking deliverance from their suffering. In this dark time, a woman named Jochebed discovered a great blessing amidst despair. She bore a son and named him Moses. Hidden among the reeds of the Nile, this infant held within him the promise of deliverance, though none could know his fate. Raised in Pharaoh's palace, Moses grew in wisdom and stature, but the sorrow of his kin weighed heavily upon his heart. Each day he witnessed the brutal toil of the Israelites, laboring relentlessly under the watchful eyes of their taskmasters. Their groans of anguish became a haunting melody that stirred a righteous anger deep within him. One fateful day, the moment of reckoning arrived. As he observed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, a fire ignited in his soul. Driven by a fierce passion to protect his kinsman, he intervened, striking down the Egyptian. Yet, as the body fell to the ground, a chill of fear and horror washed over him. The very palace he had once called home now felt like a trap. Recognizing the murderous weight of his actions, he fled into the wilderness of Midian, his heart sprinting alongside his terror. In barren land where the sun scorched the earth and solitude suffocated his spirit, Moses encountered an extraordinary revelation. At the foot of Mount Horeb, he beheld a sight inexplicable. There stood a bush ablaze with flames, yet not consumed by fire. Intrigued, he approached, and then the voice of God echoed through the ages, calling his name. "Moses, Moses, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." The Lord spoke of his people's anguish, of an ancient covenant marked by a promise of deliverance, and declared Moses as his chosen instrument to confront Pharaoh. Yet doubts flooded Moses' heart. Trembling, he questioned, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh? And what if they do not believe me?" God, in his infinite grace, assured him. He showed miraculous signs, turning a staff into a serpent and restoring his leprous hand to wholeness. Each demonstration breathed life into Moses' trembling heart, igniting a flicker of hope that perhaps he could fulfill this daunting calling. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey?
I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. With trepidation, Moses returned to Egypt, the land of his blood and heritage, feeling the weight of destiny rest heavy upon his shoulders. As he stood before Pharaoh, words trembled on his lips, calling forth the command, "Let my people go." The air hung thick with tension. The very Nile seemed to still, echoing the gravity of this moment. This confrontation was merely the beginning of a monumental journey. What trials awaited him? Would Pharaoh relent, or would despair deepen the trials of his people? The path to liberation would be fraught with divine miracles and trials that would challenge the very core of faith itself, leading Moses closer to the dramatic encounter with the Red Sea. Would God's promises be fulfilled, or would darkness overshadow the hopes of his beloved people once more? Moses stood before Pharaoh, a fierce determination igniting the resolve within him. "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." The stark contradiction between Pharaoh's might and the call of the Almighty reverberated in the halls of the palace. Pharaoh's hard heart and scornful eyes met Moses' fearless gaze. "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go." Exodus 5:2. Doubt crept back into Moses' heart, yet God's words from the burning bush rang ever clearer, a reminder of the mission that lay before him. "I will send plagues upon Egypt, and with a mighty hand I shall deliver my people," the Lord had promised. Exodus 3:20. Each blow to the pride of Pharaoh would unfold the power of God, revealing his sovereignty over all creation. Day followed day, and Moses returned to Pharaoh. The tension thickened with each exchange, and again Moses proclaimed the command of the Lord. In defiance, Pharaoh increased the burdens on the Israelites, demanding more bricks with less straw, their pain piercing like daggers through the night as they cried out to God. Yet God had not forgotten his people. He spoke to Moses, saying, "Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he will let them go, and with a strong hand he will drive them out of his land." Exodus 6:1. Strengthened by these words, Moses emerged with renewed faith. Moses gathered the leaders of Israel and recounted God's promises of deliverance. "I am the Lord. I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great acts of judgment." Exodus 6:6. Their faces, worn with sorrow, flickered with a distant hope, igniting the embers of faith that had long been extinguished by oppression. The time had come for the first of the plagues. Before Pharaoh, Moses raised his staff, pointing it towards the waters of the Nile. "This is the first sign," he declared.
"By this you shall know that I am the Lord." Immediately the waters turned to blood, and the fish perished. The very lifeblood of Egypt was tainted, and the land trembled with the judgment of God. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. He summoned his magicians, who replicated the sign by their secret arts. "This is but the finger of God," they exclaimed. Exodus 8:19. But Pharaoh's heart was steadfast, locked in rebellion. Each plague that followed, the frogs, the gnats, and the flies, only deepened his defiance. God orchestrated each event to reveal his power, and yet fate seemed cruelly unyielding, as neither Pharaoh nor the people of Egypt recognized the holy hand at work. But amidst the strife and chaos, God's promise loomed ever closer, echoed in the whispers of the Israelites as they clung to the hope of freedom. Their days grew darker, but the dawn of deliverance was not far away. And so, under the weight of despair, but propelled by the divine, the Israelites remained steadfast, their eyes set on the deliverer God had chosen. But unknown to them, a greater plan was unfolding, for the Lord would soon free not just a people, but he would declare his name through mighty wonders, leading all nations to witness his glory and power. What profound secrets lay within the unfolding story? What would become of Pharaoh's hardened heart, faced with the relentless might of the Almighty? Each day drew the Israelites closer to a decisive moment of liberation, as the promise loomed larger, spiraling toward a climactic revelation of God's sovereign plan for a people bound, yet destined to be set free. Moses returned to Pharaoh, burdened by the weight of the task set before him, yet emboldened by the promise of the Lord. "Let my people go," he intoned once more, "for if you refuse to let them go, I will strike your entire country with frogs." As the words fell from his lips, the presence of God loomed heavy around them. Yet Pharaoh met his proclamation with scorn, saying, "I shall not let them go." And so it came to pass that upon the command of Moses, the frogs multiplied in waves upon the land, filling the houses, streets, and even the very beds where the Egyptians lay. This grotesque spectacle prompted Pharaoh to summon Moses in haste, declaring, "Entreat the Lord to remove the frogs from me, and I will let your people go." Moses uttered back, "I will pray for you, and the frogs shall be cut off from you and your houses." When the frogs died, Pharaoh's heart hardened once again, and he reneged on his promise. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Say to Aaron, stretch out your staff, and strike the dust of the earth, and it shall become gnats throughout all the land of Egypt." As the dust was struck, the gnats emerged, tormenting the Egyptians. The magicians, bewildered by this new plague, cried out, "This is the finger of God," yet Pharaoh remained unyielding.
Then the Lord instructed Moses to go before Pharaoh at dawn and warn him, "If you do not let my people go, tomorrow I will bring swarms of flies into your land." With each warning, each display of God's power, the intensity of tension grew. Pharaoh, prideful in his arrogance, continued to deny the Lord's petition. The next day, a cloud of flies descended upon Egypt, darkening the sun and carrying the stench of death. Yet in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites dwelled, not one fly alighted upon them. This remarkable distinction demonstrated the mighty hand of the Lord, revealing his loyalty to his people even amidst judgment. Still, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he summoned Moses, allowing the Israelites to sacrifice, but only in Egypt. "No," replied Moses, "for we must go 3 days' journey into the wilderness." Pharaoh's compromise was met with sharp refusal, and he furiously sent Moses away. Then came the 5th plague, a grievous pestilence upon the livestock. The cattle and sheep of the Egyptians fell dead, yet the Israelites' livestock remained unharmed. This extraordinary proof of God's sovereignty increased the magnitude of Pharaoh's defiance. Moses returned yet again to unveil the Lord's warning of the 6th plague, saying, "If you refuse to let my people go, I will send boils upon you and your servants." When the plague fell upon the Egyptians, festering and painful, still Pharaoh resisted, sealing his fate with every hardening demise of his spirit. "Behold," the Lord proclaimed, "I shall bring the 7th plague, a hailstorm that will be unlike any seen since Egypt was a nation." This time Moses urged Pharaoh to heed the words of God. "Whoever fears the word of the Lord among the servants will hide their livestock, but whoever does not regard the word will be left exposed." Many heeded the warning, yet others stood defiantly, facing the wrath of the Almighty. As the skies darkened and the thunder clashed, hail rained down with such ferocity that it destroyed crops and struck men and beasts alike. The sheer power of God was manifest, yet in his turmoil Pharaoh cried out to Moses, promising to let the people go, but as the storm ceased, so did his resolve to release them. The cycle of plagues continued, each showing the fullness of God's might and the depths of Pharaoh's rebellion. Among the cries of torment, the Israelites' hope flickered like a candle in the dark, nourished by the assurance of a deliverance yet to come. Even as the weight of judgment grew heavier upon the land, the Lord was preparing to reveal his ultimate wisdom and redemptive purpose through staggering acts of power that would seal the fate of a nation and deliver his people forever. What wonders awaited? What further revelations of God's plan would unfold in the trials yet to come? The crescendo of destiny approached, and the world was about to witness the unmatched sovereignty of the Lord, the God of Israel.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show these signs of mine before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's son, what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron went back to Pharaoh, bearing the weight of the Almighty's command like a heavy yoke. Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, Moses declared, How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. If you refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring locusts into your coast. At these words, Pharaoh's lips curled in contempt, for his heart remained obstinate. What do you think I care for your God? Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice? He jeered, fueling the divine tension at hand. As Moses left the palace, the very air thickened with expectancy. The Lord commanded Moses to stretch out his hand over the land of Egypt, so that the locusts might cover the face of the earth and eat every herb that remained, all that was left after the hail. Moses obeyed. He lifted his staff, and the wind rose, bringing forth a great swarm of locusts from the east, darkening the land. The relentless noise, the clattering of wings, stirred fear in the hearts of Egypt. They consumed the last remnants of their harvest, leaving the ground as barren as a desert. Then Pharaoh called for Moses again, his voice shaking with desperation. I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you, he confessed, burdened by the sight of his desolation. Forgive my sin and pray for me. Moses, heart full of compassion, pleaded with the Lord, and the wind blew the locusts into the Red Sea, leaving nothing alive in the fields of Egypt. Yet once again, when relief came, Pharaoh's heart turned icy, and he would not let the people go. The Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. Moses obeyed, and darkness enveloped the land for 3 days, an unnatural gloom that weighed heavy upon the hearts of men and beasts alike. No one saw their brother, nor rose from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Pharaoh summoned Moses, offering a wretched compromise. Go and serve the Lord, only let your flocks and herds be stayed. But Moses replied, We shall take our livestock with us, there shall not a hoof be left behind. The Lord's decree rang clear as a bell struck at midnight, and Pharaoh's rage rared like a wild tempest. Get thee from me, beware of your life, for in that day you see my face you shall surely die, he threatened. Yet within Moses stirred the heart of a leader. Thou hast spoken well.
I will see your face no more."
He turned from Pharaoh, knowing the clash of divine purpose and human pride stood at the brink of resolution. As darkness receded and despair pierced the hearts of the Egyptians, the air crackled with an unshakable promise. The Lord prepared to unveil his might with a final act that would redefine freedom and deliverance. What was the end of Pharaoh's hardened heart? What deliverance awaited God's chosen people? The night drew near when the very firstborn of Egypt would fall, and the Lamb without blemish would arise, heralding a path to redemption. The tapestry of destiny wove tighter, and soon all creation would tremble at the sovereignty of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, "Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether." "Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel," the Lord instructed, saying, "In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house." Moses' heart pounded with the weight of this command. "And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it, according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb." The lamb selected was to be without blemish, a male of the first year. The people were to keep it until the 14th day of the same month. The solemnity of the approach of deliverance filled the air as Moses relayed the message to the Israelites. "And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat it." The hearts of the Israelites swelled with hope, yet mingled with trepidation. "And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt." The promise echoed, life in the face of death. And it came to pass that the people obeyed. They prepared the lambs, each family gathering in unity and faith, praying to the God of their fathers. With trembling hands they marked their doorposts, confiding in the divine assurance of their protector. As the fated night drew near, a silence fell over the land, as though the very creation awaited the unfolding of God's plan. And the Lord spoke once more, "And it shall come to pass that at midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die." The fear gripped the heart of Pharaoh, now knowing a dark shadow loomed to claim the lives of those he held dear. In that dark hour of despair, the Egyptians threw themselves at the mercy of their gods, but the silence from their idols stirred only greater dread. The foreboding night wore heavily upon them, for they could find no solace nor escape.
"And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more." Moses returned to his people, urging them to prepare their hearts for the coming deliverance. "Your obedience will be the vessel of your salvation," he proclaimed with resolute faith. The people clasped their hands in unity, imploring the Lord, trusting in his promise, recalling the wonders he had worked before them. As midnight approached, the air trembled with expectancy. The threshold between life and death hovered upon Egypt. The Lord's angel moved among the houses, and in that moment fear gripped the hearts of Pharaoh and his people. "The firstborn of Pharaoh that sat upon the throne shall fall, and the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, even all the firstborn of the beasts." With the dawn would come a new beginning, yet darkness entwined itself heavily upon Egypt, a shadow poised on the brink of devastation. The hearts of the Israelites pounded with both hope and foreboding. They stood in their homes, awaiting what would occur. Would the blood truly protect them? As the midnight hour struck, their faith would meet the test of divine promise, while in the palace the cries of grief began to echo. Pharaoh's house, the first to tremble under God's hand, ushering forth the greater story of redemption. How powerfully the sovereignty of the Lord unfolds. With every moment that passes, his greater plan knit together with threads of blood and promise
beckons all to witness the glory to come. What would be revealed to those who dared to believe? The seal of their fate hinged upon the faithfulness of the Lamb. And it came to pass as the clock struck midnight that the Lord executed his word. The air was filled with a palpable stillness, yet within it echoed the pulse of dread that swept through Egypt. In every house the sound of despair broke forth, for the angel of death passed over the land, striking down the firstborn in each dwelling that bore no blood upon the doorposts. The lifeless forms lay heaped in sorrowful contrast to the cries of lament that filled the night. "Pharaoh," they called, "Pharaoh, arise!" The voice of anguish permeated the palace, a wail mingled with panic, racing forth from the very heart of Egypt. The king stirred from his slumber, driven to the confines of nightmares manifest, as his own son lay silent beneath death's grip. And Pharaoh, his heart like stone, but now cracking under grief, called for Moses and Aaron by night, summoning them to his presence. In trembling tones he commanded, "Rise up, and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord, as he have said." A tremor of relief mixed with sorrow coursed through Moses as he beheld the urgency of Pharaoh's words.
"Also, take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also," Pharaoh added, a shadow of desperation lurking behind his command, the first to dwell on finality amidst loss. Then Moses, gathering the leaders of Israel, declared boldly, "This night has birthed a new beginning. The Lord has wrought his deliverance. No longer shall fear hold sway over us, for we have been shown mercy through the blood of the Lamb." With haste, the Israelites prepared for their exodus, their hearts stirring with excitement laced with trepidation. With baskets laden with unleavened bread and their livestock before them, the congregation began to move as the dawn began to break, its light glimmering with promise. "Carry forth the legacy of our deliverance," they proclaimed to one another, faith renewing their spirits against the backdrop of despair left behind. Yet the Lord spoke again to Moses, saying, "Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast. It is mine." The weight of this command was heavy, for it tethered the hearts of the people deeper into the covenant they had received, the ongoing narrative echoing through their history, a call to holiness that echoed from generation to generation. As they journeyed forth from the land of bondage, the Israelites felt the clouds of oppression lift from their shoulders, yet in that very same moment, the Egyptians, filled with fear and fury, pursued them with vengeance. "What have we done?" cried out the Egyptians. "We have released our slaves, and by our own hand have we brought upon ourselves woe." Moses, standing firm before the gathered tribes, reminded them of the Lord's promise. "Do not fear the shadows that follow, for the Lord will fight for you. Hold your peace, trust in him, for today was but a shadow of great things to come." Thus they moved forward, crossing the threshold from oppression into a future uncharted, mapping routes illuminated by the light of divine purpose. Each step was a step of faith, where heartbeats echoed with the rhythm of generations yet unborn, beholden to the story they now enacted, a story of redemption and promise, sealed by the blood of the Lamb. In the distance, the Red Sea shimmered under the rising sun, a formidable barrier ahead, yet behind them, the dust of the pursuing chariots stirred fervently. As doubt threatened to creep in, Moses lifted his eyes to the heavens, and in that moment he understood. God's sovereign hand would not falter. He will act once more, revealing the depths of his mercy and dread. What divine wonders awaited them? Did not the Lord prepare the path before them, and would he not make a way where none seemed possible? With every trial, every step taken in trembling faith, God's glorious plan unfolded brighter in the days to come. Would they remain steadfast, trusting in his provision? The greater journey of faith had only just begun, beckoning a reckoning that would stretch the fabric of divine history into eternity. And as the Israelites encamped before the Red Sea, the winds of fear swept through their ranks. Their hearts trembled, for the sound of chariots drew near, and with each thundering hoofbeat upon the ground, despair rose like a tide. The murmuring started, small at first, but soon morphed into a chorus of panic. "Did we not say unto thee, Moses, in Egypt, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness." Moses stood among the people, steadfast yet wary, sensing the gravity of their cries. "Fear not, and stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today," he proclaimed, his voice resonating amidst their doubts. "For the Egyptians whom ye see today, ye shall see them again no more forever." Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Why criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea." The command pierced through the tumult of fear, igniting a flame of faith within Moses. With resolve in his heart and the rod of God raised high, Moses approached the sea. The waters seemed to sing their own sorrow, foaming and crashing against the shores, as if anticipating the miracle about to unfold. As he stretched forth his hand, the winds began to blow fiercely, parting the very fabric of creation. A pathway appeared, a dry path among the towering walls of water, stretching as far as the eye could see. Time stood still as the first of the Israelites, emboldened by the divine wonder, stepped forward. Their feet touched the dry ground, and the sea loomed like a mighty sentinel, reflecting the light of heaven. As they progressed into the depths of the passageway, joy mingled with disbelief. "The Lord has done a great thing," they rejoiced, their voices lifted in a hymn of praise that echoed against the mountains. Moses led the way, his spirit buoyed by the miracle of deliverance unfolding. The fear that once gripped their hearts began to dissipate, replaced by a growing trust in the God who parted the waters. Behind them, the sound of pursuing Egyptians faded into the distant memory of their oppressive past. Yet the Lord was not finished. Before Moses could take a breath, the reality of the enemy pressing upon them drew near. "The chariots of Pharaoh are upon us," roared one among the ranks. Moses turned, heart racing, and beheld the advancing army shrouded in dust like a storm pressed upon them. "Fear not, the Lord shall fight for us," he declared once more, feeling the mantle of God's command resting heavy upon his shoulders. Then the Lord spoke again, commanding, "The enemy you see today, you shall never see again."
As the last of the Israelites crossed the sea, the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians." With resolve, Moses lifted his rod once more, and as soon as he did, the waters returned, crashing down upon Pharaoh's host, drowning them in the tempest of judgment. The cries of the Egyptians were swallowed by the waters, their might extinguished by the sovereign hand of God. And the children of Israel witnessed this great act of deliverance. They feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. In that moment, Miriam, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went forth after her with timbrels and with dances. "Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea." Yet as the sun began to set, a shadow loomed on the horizon, revealing a deeper truth. In their deliverance lay the seeds of a greater calling. The road ahead was not merely one of escape, but of covenantal destiny. What would this journey reveal? Would they be able to walk in the fullness of the promise that awaited them? God's sovereign plan was unfolding, leading them through trials that would bring forth a nation set apart for his glory. The days to come would reveal that perhaps their greatest struggle was not merely behind them, but ahead. A call to remember his great acts and embrace the covenant that would bind generations. And Moses, having witnessed the might of God's hand, turned to the people with renewed purpose. The air was filled with the scent of salt water, remnants of the sea that had just parted for their deliverance. Yet the hearts of the Israelites were still heavy with the memories of their bondage in Egypt. The Lord then instructed Moses to lead them further into the wilderness, for there lay his next command. "Tell the children of Israel to turn and encamp before Pi-Hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea," the Lord directed. "For I will harden Pharaoh's heart again, and he shall pursue them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord." Thus they journeyed to the appointed place, courage mingled with caution in their hearts. They were now a people reborn, yet the uncertainties of the wilderness loomed ahead. As the camp was set, they felt both liberation and trepidation swirl within them, echoing the struggles they had endured. Through the days that followed, the Lord spoke to Moses, leading him to establish significant laws and ordinances for the people to govern their hearts and their conduct as they prepared to embrace the covenant. "Ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation," he declared, revealing the weight of their calling. The people, yearning for guidance, listened attentively as Moses recounted the words of the Lord. Yet amidst the revelation of God's statutes, doubt arose again.
They said, "Will the Lord provide food for us in this wilderness? Shall we not perish in hunger?" Their eyes darted toward the horizon, as if they could see their former captors among the dunes. Moses sought the face of the Lord in earnest. "O Lord, what shall I say unto them?" he implored, troubled by their unrest. And the Lord answered, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no." With these words, a promise of sustenance glimmered like morning dew upon the earth. On the morrow, when the dawn broke, the skies would be filled with heavenly manna, and the people would gather it, learning to depend upon the Lord's provision. Yet the testing was not merely of hunger, but of faith. Would they trust in the unseen hand guiding them, or would their hearts revert to fear? As Moses proclaimed the divine promise, a song began to rise among the people once more, threading hope through their doubts. "We are a chosen people," they declared, remembering the mighty acts of the Lord, from the blood of the Lamb to the parting of the sea. But each night, as darkness settled upon the encampment, whispers of anxiety would stir among them. What if the Egyptians rally their forces? What if we wander in this desert forever? Their fears, like shadows, crept into their minds, seeking to extinguish the flickering flame of faith ignited by the recent miracles. The Lord, seeing the tremors of doubt, instituted a sacred observance to remind them of his deliverance. The Passover would be a perpetual reminder of his saving grace. "When your children ask, 'What mean ye by this service?' you shall tell them, 'It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt.'" And so, as they rehearsed the acts of God, their hearts began to realign with his sovereign purposes. Little by little, they learned that their deliverance was only the beginning, a divine preparation for the journey ahead, marked by covenant and promise. Yet unbeknownst to them, the full weight of their destiny lay ahead, for the wilderness would test not only their resolve, but the very essence of their identity as a holy nation. What awaited them in the vast unknown would require more than mere escape. It would demand total dependence on the Lord, revealing the depths of his sovereign plan. For that which they could not yet comprehend stood as a beacon of hope. The land of promise awaited, and the transformative journey through the wilderness was essential for the people God had chosen to call his own. How would they respond to the unfolding mystery before them? Would they embrace the covenant that held the future of nations? Thus the story continued, weaving them ever closer to the heart of God's ultimate purpose.
And it came to pass that on the morrow, when the sun had risen and dispelled the night, a dew descended upon the ground, and with it came the promise fulfilled. As the people emerged from their tents, they beheld a wonder, a fine flake-like substance upon the surface of the wilderness, white like coriander seed, and its taste was as sweet as honey. Moses stood among them, urging the people, "Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every person, according to the number of your persons." And as they gathered the heavenly bread, their spirits trembled with awe at the provision of the Lord. However, their hearts still wrestled with uncertainty, for they had known naught but scarcity. Some were quick to hoard more than their daily bread, yet others, trusting implicitly, gathered only what had been decreed by Moses. But behold, when the sun waxed hot, that which was kept beyond the appointed measure melted away, proving that the Lord would provide enough for each day, teaching them to rely wholly on him. "For 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there shall be none," Moses declared, revealing the rhythm of rest that their souls would need. Yet again the people murmured against Moses and Aaron, saying, "Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Their words were laced with desperation, but Moses responded with confidence, Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain flesh upon you in the evening, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God." The promise of quail fluttered upon the night winds, and when evening fell, the camp was filled with the sound of wings and the smell of meat. Thus the Israelites feasted, and their hearts were momentarily filled with satisfaction. As days turned into weeks, the trials of the wilderness continued to manifest, revealing the inner heart of each one among them. Some looked back longingly to Egypt, clinging to their past comforts and the shadows of former chains, while others gazed forward, spirit-filled with hope for the promises yet unseen. With each passing trial, Moses bore witness to both their wavering faith and the divine response of the Almighty. Gripped by the heaviness of leadership, he cried out, "O Lord, what shall I do with this people? They are ready to stone me." And the Lord replied, "Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation." Thus God's Spirit descended upon them, and they prophesied.
The people stood amazed, realizing that God's provision was not merely physical bread, but spiritual sustenance for their souls, though questions arose again. Who are we that God has favored us so? And so Moses instructed them to remember, saying, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." They began to comprehend that the wilderness was a refining fire, shaping them into a people prepared to inherit the land promised to their forefathers. It was a pilgrimage to deeper communion and covenant. But a shadow loomed still, for the hearts of many remained divided between fear and faith. An unquenched thirst clawed at their spirits, igniting debates amidst the camp. They questioned, "Shall we ever reach the promised land? Will our children inherit this covenant?" The Lord, seeing the wavering hearts, spoke once more to Moses. "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye enter into the land which I give unto you, that it shall be a land flowing with milk and honey." Thus the promise resounded through the dusty trails of their journey. What awaited them in the depths of the wilderness and the praises of the promised land? Would they embrace the trials that would lead them to transformation? The night grew heavy with revelation, and the hearts of the Israelites yearned for understanding. For in the unseen paths before them lay the very essence of their faith, a divine tapestry unfurling in God's sovereign plan, one that would redefine nations birthed from their lineage. As the Israelites continued their arduous journey through the wilderness, they began to understand the significance of the trials that beset them. The Lord, ever faithful, did not abandon them in their plight, but orchestrated each moment to reveal His purpose and cultivate a people set apart for His glory. In the hush of the desert nights, a whisper of hope swelled within the hearts of the Israelites, strengthened by the miracles they had witnessed. Manna rained down from heaven, quail filled their bellies, and they began to remember the great deeds of the Lord, stirring their spirits towards faith. Yet even amidst this divine provision, skepticism lingered like a shadow, for they were still swayed by the echoes of doubt. One day, as they encamped before Sinai, the Lord descended upon the mountain in fire, enveloped in smoke, and the earth trembled with His presence. Moses ascended, drawn into the divine mystery, as God prepared to unveil the covenant that would bind His people to Himself. "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage," He declared, imprinting His law upon stone, a testament of His love and divine authority. The words etched upon the tablets resonated with clarity, unveiling the blueprint for their lives as a holy nation. "You shall have no other gods before me," the Lord instructed, each command resounding with weight and purpose.
As Moses descended, glowing with the very glory of God, the hearts of the people trembled, for they encountered the enormity of His holiness. Yet confusion festered within their ranks, leading some to construct a golden calf, a grievous act of rebellion against the covenant they had pledged. The stillness of the air was shattered by the sound of revelry as their hearts, for a moment, faltered. When Moses returned, his eyes beheld their unfaithfulness, and he smashed the tablets in righteous anger. "What have you done?" he cried, lamenting their swift turn from the Lord. The gravity of sin settled like a dark cloud, but with it came the opportunity for restoration.
Moses pleaded for the people, interceding on their behalf. "If you will forgive their sin, forgive them. But if not, blot me out of your book." He engulfed himself in the depths of grace, reflecting God's unwavering mercy. The Lord responded, declaring that while he would not blot Moses, judgment must be meted out, but he would also show mercy. An intimate covenant once again drawn close. "A new beginning awaits you," the Lord proclaimed, as Moses carved new tablets for the law, a symbol of redemption and renewed promise. The Israelites stood at the foot of the mountain, their hearts stirred to repentance, learning that to follow the Lord was not merely about obedience, but a deep communion with their Creator, who desired their hearts above all else. The journey continued with the establishment of the tabernacle, a dwelling place where the Lord would meet his people, showcasing his heart for relationship. Moses intricately detailed God's commands, and the people responded with eager hearts, contributing generously towards the dwelling of the Almighty. "They shall make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them," God promised, setting a beautiful precedent for all generations. Yearning for the Promised Land, the Israelites began to reflect on the faithfulness of the Lord amidst their wilderness wanderings. With every hardship, their resolve strengthened, forging a community built upon unshakable faith. As they began to understand their destiny as bearers of his name, God prepared them to inherit the land he had sworn to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In time, the wait culminated at the brink of the Jordan River, where Moses stood at the threshold, filled with a heart of wisdom crafted through trials, heartbreaks, and triumphs. "Be strong and courageous," he urged the people, "for the Lord your God goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you." As they crossed into the land flowing with milk and honey, they realized that their journey was but a shadow of the ultimate redemption, a seed planted in their hearts that would blossom for generations to come. And thus, the story of Moses and the Israelites concludes not merely with conquest, but a profound revelation of God's unfailing love and covenant promise. Through trials and tribulation, they learned that their identity was rooted in the faithfulness of the God who delivered them, and they became a beacon of hope for all mankind. In this journey of transformation, they discovered that true freedom was not just an escape from bondage, but a heartfelt commitment to serve the living God. The echoes of their faith journey catalyzed a legacy, an everlasting testament that God's plans for his people are filled with purpose, filled with hope, and marvelously intertwined with his magnificent grace. Now, as we celebrate this powerful journey, remember the lessons held within. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word so you don't miss the next powerful biblical stories that can transform your life. Leave a like now to help spread God's message through the algorithm. Share your spiritual reflections in the comments. How has this testament of faith affected your walk with the Lord? This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this incredible journey with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's love and truth today.